Sometimes I can't pronounce some of the name. Welcome. Everybody's chiming in now. Awesome. Awesome. Welcome. I can't keep up with the names now to say hello, this person or that person. So forgive me. Before everybody was getting a personal name addressed.
To join early next time.
They're coming in yeah, they're coming in quite quickly now. So welcome. Well, oh, yes, it's now 7 o'clock. All right. Should we give a little bit of grace?
We can start whenever you're
We
ready.
can start? Okay.
Do you want to give me an introduction or?
Oh no, I'm coming. I'm gonna
Okay.
do that right now because I sent my beloved friend here a text. I said, please send me your bio, but because I did not get it from him, and he's my dear friend, I know how to speak from the heart to introduce him. So, fellow Toastmasters, welcome to tonight's first of three District 123 workshops that I have organized as your workshop coordinator. I was quite thrilled when he did not hesitate to say yes to doing the first of the last three workshops. You know him as our district coordinator. You know him as a DTM, a distinguished Toastmaster. But I know him as a friend, and most of you may also know him as a friend. He's our very own Leslie Benfield. If I have to say anything to introduce him for tonight, is to let you know, which I believe you have already known that, he is passionate about Toastmasters. I think distinguished Toastmaster Leslie live and breathe Toastmasters. And because of that passion that he has, that's why he did not hesitate to do this workshop for us tonight, which is boost membership. And who is better to tell us that than our very own district coordinator, distinguished Toastmaster Leslie? So I present to you Boost Membership, distinguished Toastmaster Leslie Benfield. Let's welcome him.
Thank you very much, Rosanna, and thanks for that great introduction. No one knows me best than Rosanna. She was there when I joined Toastmasters 8 years ago at Regional Peel Toastmasters Club. I first joined a French club because I really wanted to have that opportunity to speak and practice speaking in French. That's how I know my friend Suzanne so well up there in Sudbury. And it's been an amazing journey, Sandy, yes. It's been such an amazing journey from the time I joined Toastmasters to now I'm outgoing district director. It feels like it's been, a flash in the pan. But what I want to do today is to have a conversation and talk about some of the issues that we're seeing, not just in District 123, but across the world. The wonderful thing about being on the trio is that you get to travel, you get to meet people from around the world, and you get to you spend a lot of time. A lot of people don't realize how much time we spend doing analysis and strategizing. So you become kind of like an expert at sort of strategizing on how the human mind operates, and not just how we operate in terms of a guest coming into your meeting and how to engage them, but also in terms of how people's behaviors of change and evolve, post almost 3-year pandemic that we were locked away. And it's a fascinating thing when you think about it. And we as leaders, we're all leaders in our own right in Toastmasters. We as leaders have to take the opportunities that we have to influence the world around us. That's what's going to make us all successful in terms of getting, the kind of things that we can get out of Toastmasters, which it's a good experience for ourselves, our club. And, at the end of the day, we want to be we all want to make an impact, whether it's within our family, within our circles, at work. If you have that knowledge, why not share that knowledge? So this is going to be very much a sort of like a conversation, and I encourage everyone to put your cameras on so you can engage with me. I know I personally prefer to be in an in-person event. I remember driving to Sudbury, and that's one of the most beautiful experiences. I remember one of the meetings was a team meeting where we had all these books. Well, I'm saying we, but I didn't organize it. I think it's Suzanne or one of the guys up there organized it. They had all these, kids' books, different books, and we had what do you call, someone like a professional reader, and he was reading the stories. I don't know if he authored one of those books, but that was a fascinating experience. And that's what I think we're missing a little bit in Toastmasters when we have so many online events. But you can actually bring that energy to an online club. That's why instead of sitting at my desk at work, I'm standing in front of my computer. I feel a lot more engaged and excited every time someone logs into the meeting. So what I want to talk about today is how we can sort of engage in our clubs and make our clubs more exciting. No one wants to go to a club where there's, less than adequate a number of members, and then, you have to do two roles. It's never a good thing when you're not feeling that energy from your club members. So I'm gonna talk about 10 things, two hands up, 10 things that you can do to make your club more exciting. And I decided I'm not gonna do a PowerPoint because that makes us all lazy. It makes me lazy. I'm just clicking through. So feel free to make notes, turn on your camera, and if you have a question, just raise your hands and we'll just, drop in and engage with you there. There's no set sort of agenda, or there's no credit for attending this workshop. This is just a fun activity where we engage with each other as members of Toastmasters. So the first tip that I have is to focus on quality and the guests who will join. So why do I say that? I say that because I'm actually in 4 clubs right now. And one of the things I realize when I sort of like look across those clubs, obviously I'm not on the executive in any of those clubs. I see many other clubs. What I see is that the clubs that focus on the nitty-gritty aspects of quality, for instance, making sure the agenda is filled, making sure that anyone who's doing a role is briefed and things like that, you have the success in terms of yes converting. I'll just ask Jitesh to mute. Yes, they're the ones that get the guests converting. If you find that over time your guests are not converting, maybe it's a good time for your exec to say, you know what, let's do a moments of truth and try to understand what's the blind spot that we're missing. There must be some reason why the guests are not joining our club and why they're joining some other club. There's clubs that are, filling over with, I went to Brampton Toastmasters a couple days ago and they had 8 or 7 people as guests, and every month they're actually converting 2 or 3 people to members. So they're obviously doing something. Check out those clubs and see what they're doing that you can incorporate in your club. The next one is to make your meetings interesting. I talk about that meeting that I remember so well when I drove all the way to Sudbury, where they had an interesting meeting. It was well planned out. The entire room was set up. They had a speaker who was well known in the area. I think it was an open house, but how it was designed, it wasn't designed as an open house. Hey, come join our club. It was designed to give the guests or whoever attended the meeting a whole experience. And when you walk away with that experience, you don't just feel good afterwards, but you remember it, and you talk about it, just like I'm talking about that. And that's like 4 or 5 years ago. All right. So that's a great way to engage with your guests. And even if many people say, oh, we had an open house, but none of the guests joined. That's not the objective of an open house. The open house is to sell your club. Everyone who comes is not going to join because they probably have some other motivation. But when they go and they talk to their friends, that word of mouth, they're going to say, you know what? I went to Suzanne's club. I went to Sandy's club, and I really enjoyed it. And this is the reason why. And then that person's probably going to say, hey, maybe I'll go check it out. Because everyone has their own reason for joining, and you don't need to pressure someone to join or call them up 3 or 4 times. It's good to call and make that connection, but you don't need to pressure them to join. Just invite them and let them join. So that's the second one. I remember, just on the same topic, I remember one of the meetings we had at our work club, and maybe I planned it, maybe I was instrumental in organizing it, but one of our members was actually going off on maternity leave. I think Rosanna might remember this one. And this member had one speech to choose, one speech away from finishing a level. So we try to figure out how we can convince her to do that speech before going on her 1-year maternity. We actually converted the upcoming meeting, to an entire what was it, baby shower meeting, and we got her to talk about her experience and what she's going to be doing and what she's going to miss about the club. It was one of the best meetings. It was very memorable. And that was, the type of thing I'm talking about when I say, when you make your meetings interesting, just imagine you coming as a guest and you seeing so much love from the members showered to this person. You obviously would, if that's something you're thinking about, you would want to join that kind of environment and group of people. So my third one is kind of going to contradict what I said before. I said follow up with your guests, not badger your guests, but follow up. Just make that connection, because very often someone comes to a meeting and no one ever calls them, no one ever follows up with them. They feel like, maybe that was a really great meeting, but maybe that's not for me. Maybe those guys, they're not interested in having me as a member. Many people that come, looking for Toastmasters, they're probably not, at the height of their career. They're probably not, they're probably looking for something else to take them to the next level. And if you can sort of make that connection, it's always good to, close the loop in terms of the sale. If you talk about selling a product, you always have to make that loop to make the sale. My fourth one is almost the same. It says follow up with your past members. And, I see someone on the call here. Well, at least she was here. Oh, here she is. Hiram. I'm going to talk about Hiram. So when I was part of, when I joined Toastmasters, I joined in a club called Shano, amazing club. I knew I wanted to join that club, like the first day that I walked in. We often do not realize that people that leave Toastmasters leave for their own reasons. And it's up to us, if we see something in that person, to reach back out to that person. I remember Hiram had dropped out of Shano Toastmasters. She was done with Toastmasters. And then I called her up maybe after a year or something like that. And like, hey, you know what? I'm starting this bilingual club. Would you be interested? And she said, hey, interesting you called me. I am interested. And that's how you you close the loop in terms of past members. And this has happened many times of, just call back someone, hey, how are you doing? There's no need to pressure anyone. People have their own reasons for leaving and going. It's Toastmasters is a journey, and there's no set time limit by which you should complete anything. It's up to you and your own personal objectives in terms of what you do and in your own time. And I just have to preface that by saying that Hiram is one of the most engaged and enthusiastic Toastmasters that I know right now. She's just completed being assistant area director. She's incoming president of Bilingual Toastmasters du Grand Toronto, and she's just rocking it. So kudos to you. So my fifth one is something kind of like totally out of the box, something that I find that I don't understand why more clubs are not doing this, and it's Speechcraft. Speechcraft is kind of like one of the hidden gems in Toastmasters. It's that's tucked away, and not many people actually run Speechcraft. But Speechcraft can give you in any term, any 6 months term, you can easily get 4 or 5 members if you run a Speechcraft program. And it does take a little bit of work, and it's a project that someone in your club can take on. And don't be afraid. I have another item that says do projects. Don't be afraid to ask members to do projects, because when members take on projects, they become engaged. I remember when I started at Regional Peel, one of the first things I was given is a project to run an open house. And these little projects, as small as they are, they actually engage the member so that the member can develop those leadership skills that Toastmasters offers. So I remember as club growth director, every club that ran Speechcraft, they actually got, I don't know, about 90% of the members who attended the Speechcraft either signed up for 6 months or a year in the program. So, and a lot of clubs that run Speechcraft, they just run it on a regular basis, and they always get a healthy stream of members coming in through Speechcraft. So highly recommend it. The district has a Speechcraft coordinator. So if anyone is part of a club and you want to run it, and you can do it in any language, it can be, you can run a Speechcraft in French or Spanish or, whatever the members or your guests might be interested in doing. Any questions on that? I don't want to ramble on too long. I promise that this is going to be an interactive session. Feel free to raise your hands. This is not sort of like a workshop where you're getting credit towards any program. So yeah, Suzanne.
You've mentioned a few times the importance of having guests at your meeting. Could you elaborate on different strategies to get guests, like guests that will become members, not guests that are friends or acquaintances because you're going to do a speech, but
Yeah.
trying to get the right clientele for your club, or the right persona for your club?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, Suzanne. So I like to, when I'm advertising, I like to paint a broad brush, as in saying, I'm willing to, even if it's my mom, invite her to the meeting. She doesn't have to become a member, but I like to, especially when I was in my early days at Regional Peel, I would just walk around, I'd go to the cafeteria, and I would have my Toastmaster t-shirt on. What's the first thing that does? It starts a conversation, right? And, whether the person is interested or not, I'm telling them about Toastmasters, I'm selling the program, and I'm always sort of looking for that next person that might be interested. Social media is very powerful. However, you really have to understand how the algorithms work. So for instance, if your club has a Meetup account and you're not, you don't have your club members actively engaging and inviting people to the Meetup, it would not be sort of like featured on the search algorithms. However, if you get all your members to like and share the links, the same with Facebook, the same with other social media platforms, it really comes up high on the algorithms. If your club has money, it's always a good idea to invest some money in terms of marketing. And if you need help, you can always ask the district, say, hey, our club is a niche club. We'd like some help in terms of marketing this particular idea. And the district might even be able to chip in terms of a marketing campaign or something like that. But I mean, to answer your question, one of the things I used to do is always invite people, always talk about, what's happening, especially if it's a team meeting, blast it out, talk about it with your friends and invite people. That person might not necessarily be the one person that's going to join. I'll give you one example. When I was the club coach for a club called Brampton Alpha, I just love that club. one of the things I did was I introduced and invited a number of people. So one of the people I thought would not be interested, but I told her anyway, is one of my cousins. It so happens that she, having come to the club, she became the club president, she became an area director, she's working with the district. And I'm like, I'm kind of surprised because before she never expressed an interest or with Toastmasters. But what I think happened is when I invited her, she came and she saw the level of engagement. And I was just talking to her a couple of days ago. She actually mentioned that she'd never realized that she can be a leader. That's her exact words. I never realized. I thought, leaders were born, people like Justin Trudeau, that's the name she mentioned. But I never realized that I can be a leader. And I thought that's typical of many people who, have that power within them. They have that story to tell, but they've never sort of felt, comfortably enough to, make that step into, their greatness, as Roger Caesar says. Rosanna.
Thank you. Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Leslie. I like the question that Suzanne asked, and to echo on what you've just said, I think we should always practice not to have a preconceived thought when we're extending invitations to anybody, because it's like somebody is literally sometimes thirsty or waiting for an invitation, and yet we're thinking that the person that we may ask might be the person who's just coming for the fluff, just for the sake of coming. So I think when because of our heart that we have for Toastmasters, we should use that same passion that we have when we're extending the invitation, and have not any preconceived thoughts. And to echo what distinguished Toastmaster Leslie has said, there's an individual for the past 10 years, I believe, or maybe 8, I've been inviting her to Toastmasters. And one day she showed up without me saying it to her again, because she remembered and she told the club, "Oh, Rosanna's been inviting me for the past 10 years." And she became a member. And she said to me, "Toastmasters? Oh, please, that's not for me." So that's how it happens sometimes. So I just wanted to echo and echo what distinguished Toastmaster was saying. And just to add, let us not have preconceived thoughts. Just extend the invitation, and we'll be surprised who will show up and just been waiting for that invitation.
Awesome. Very nice feedback. So I see 2 hands and then I'll continue. So I see Richard first and then Christina. Go, Richard.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Leslie. You were great at their recent district conference in Oshawa, and really appreciated that experience. I'm quite new to Toastmasters, so can you elaborate on what Speechcraft is? I gather it's a computer program, or?
Yeah, so I'm delighted to answer that question. So Speechcraft is a program that Toastmasters offers, and it provides an introduction to Toastmasters without the guest having, or that person having to join officially as a member. So basically it's a workshop that runs for, I think, 7 to 9 weeks. And the person that joins, they pay typically, less than whatever the cost is for, I think, 2 or 3 months membership. So it's around, $50 or $25, depending on the club. And for that $25 or $50, they get an introduction. They get to do an icebreaker. They get to do an evaluation. They get to do 1 or 2 additional speeches that gives them kind of like a fast track into what the Toastmasters experience is. And I can tell you from experience that many people that go through that program, because you have to do an icebreaker after your second meeting, and then you have to do an evaluation. And, it's kind of like, there's no, you don't get to set the dates or the times. you just told that this is what you have to do and they just go ahead and do it. It's amazing experience for the members, especially if it's run properly. And 80 to 90% of members that go through the Speechcraft program, they either join afterwards, and it's a really good tool that clubs can use to get new members. So I see one more hand up, so I'll do Christina and then Nick. And then we'll jump back into the presentation.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Leslie. My question was regarding the Speechcraft as well. Would you be able to give us more details about the coordinator for this?
Yes, so her name is Jagruti Damia. And if you go to Toastmasters123.org, you can you'll see a lot of information there, as well as the contact information for Jagruti. She's the Speechcraft coordinator. Alternatively, you can send me an email at dd@toastmasters123.org. I'll be answering it until the end of June. And I can, provide some additional information for you or your club.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
And Anik, I'll take one more and then we'll jump back into the presentation.
Hi, I'm quite new as well. One of the things I've noticed is that I love where I am, Collingwood. I was so amazed that we had a Toastmaster, so I was very grateful for that. One of the things I've noticed is that we're not getting that many new people. Is there, like, I think the Speechcraft is amazing, but in terms of advertising, have you been successful in advertising through the library or through even younger audience so that they can grow through the program as well?
Wow, you said two things that made my ears turn up as a district official. You said advertise through the library and getting younger people into. So those are two things that the district strategically, I talked about strategy earlier, right? So you can work with a district and there's always initiatives that we are running. So one of the things that I did recently, we're starting a club called Namaste Brampton. It's kind of like a hybrid club, but it's based in Brampton, and it's a South Asian based theme club. So one of the things we did, and we found out that, many people are maybe not aware of, is if you go to the library and you ask them to put up a flyer, they may or may not do it, depending on who you talk to on the day of. However, if you go through the city and you fill up a form and you send them the graphics, they will instruct the libraries to put it up, every single library in the city. So these are things that you can do to promote. I mentioned that club, Brampton Alpha. One of the things we did, there was a real nice team building activity, is because that's before COVID and it was very sort of geographically based. We actually I printed out, and I can only say this very quietly because I know some people on the call are work at the Regional Appeal. I printed out 500 flyers and we shared them out. We hand shared them out in the neighborhood. And it was a nice experience, just interacting with members. And one of the things that we recognize is that Toastmasters is an amazing brand. People already have heard of the brand. They just didn't know that there was a Toastmaster meeting just, 2 blocks away. And that's, something that anyone can do, especially if you're in a neighborhood like Collingwood or something like that. You can just drive around, hand out some flyers, go knock on a few doors, pretend you're a politician. I'm sure they'll be a lot, nicer to you when they realize that you're from Toastmasters. We're a Toastmasters t-shirt. You can get it from the district website. And it's a fun activity. It's a fun activity that I just recently, it popped up in my feed from Facebook, and I was like, oh man, I was amazed to see the pictures. But all of the 99% of the people that we spoke to were so, very nice, and they were happy to know that there was a Toastmasters club that was was meeting right, just a few blocks away from them. We actually also went to a few high-rise buildings and we asked the the manager to put up the flyer in their foyer, and they said yes. Right, there was one high rise just next to, and we got, I think, 2 members from that, and that was just right next to the building. And guess what? One of the girls, she actually volunteered to be the sergeant at arms, open the meeting, because it was just a, you know, hip and a skip from where she, you know, her house was. So there's a ton of opportunities to market, and just talk with your club. You can also talk with the district in terms of if there are any initiatives. So why I mention the district is because sometimes in rural areas, I don't think Collingwood is so much of a rural area, but if you're in a rural area, the district has money that they can put towards, you know, maybe doing an insert flyer in the newspaper or something like that. These are initiatives that, you know, the district can totally consider, because every geographical area is different, right? Or if you need, you know, assistance with printing flyers to distribute and things like that. The other thing you asked about is for younger people and engaging with younger people. So I hear this a lot of times. You're in clubs and you talk to young people on the side, and they're like, you know, I was at one of the clubs and I was talking to a youngster, someone I kind of encouraged to join Toastmasters as well. And he was asking, you know, what kind of initiatives the district is having to sort of engage young people. And what I challenged him to, why not start a club, you know, because there's so many opportunities for clubs that are niche clubs that engage with one type of demographic or another. That's why we're starting this Namaste Brampton. It provides an opportunity, you know, to engage in a different way within the same Toastmasters realm. So that's my advice in terms of youngsters. And the other thing is, you have to promote young people in your club, you know, give them that platform, you know, to not just be the Toastmaster, but to lead projects. So if you're doing a membership drive, allow them to lead that membership drive, give them the guidance, but allow them to also come up with ideas, innovative ideas in terms of how, you know, they would like to market, maybe market at a college, or market, you know, in an area where, you know, young people are looking for, you know, opportunities to move, you know, sort of like up the ladder, as we would say. I can tell you, you know, earlier I mentioned about going to different districts. That's one of the advantages we have when we are on the district trio. There are a number of districts around the world where the average, like for instance, our keynote speaker 2 years ago, Cyril Jr. Dem, he was from Poland, and at least that's where he lives. He's originally from Africa. But he was saying that in his district in Europe, the average age is about in their 30s. And the reason why is because a lot of those people, they see Toastmasters as helping them to develop those skills that allow them to ace an interview at work, become, you know, upwardly mobile, because they're the ones raising their hands up. And I can tell you, you know, Rosanna and I, we were in the same club at Regional Peel. A lot of people, one of the biggest problems we used to have is every time someone becomes president or they take on a big role, they get promoted in the organization, and then we have to go find someone else, you know, because there's so many opportunities, because their boss is seeing them, you know, in that leadership role, taking on new tasks, raising their hands in the team meetings, leading projects. It's fascinating how, you know, when people take on these responsibilities, it really helps them to become upwardly mobile. So I have to jump on, but I give Rosanna
It would just to quickly say,
second.
they're even presenting at council. Just had to add that.
Exactly. Okay, so I spoke about, I think the last one I spoke about was number 5. So I have 5 more nuggets to bring up. So number 6 relates to corporate clubs. And one of the things that I see in clubs that are corporate clubs that are very successful is they have a link between the club and the HR department. That's something that Regional Peel has been able to do and do very well. And it's not just Regional Peel. I see it in a lot of clubs that are successful that we charter. And what that allows the club to do is that a lot of the membership building is actually done for them by HR, in the sense that the HR, for whatever reason, when the employer or the boss has a conversation with the employee, very often, because the club is so visible in the organization, very often people are recommended, hey, why don't you check out Toastmasters? You can develop your communication skills in that, safe environment, etc. I'm an example of that. I have spoken to senior management on a number of cases. I'm in IT, and when I listen to sometimes our IT people present, I'm like, these guys so need Toastmasters, and every time I get an opportunity to present along with the entire group, you can see a huge difference between the way I'm presenting, the way I'm framing myself on the camera, the way I speak, etc. And it always helps each one of us as Toastmasters to stand out in the organization. And when I say develop a rapport with HR, whether HR is paying the dollars for your membership or not, it's good for them to see when members are completing levels, when members are recognized, win a speech contest. You don't have to be the speech champion for the entire district, but if you do, that helps as well. It all adds up when the HR sees you as achieving things. And don't be shy to sort of recognize your members. Don't be shy to, tell your boss or invite your boss to, I used to do that, invite my boss to Toastmasters. And, especially when I got my DTM, I made sure he came to the meeting and he saw that pomp and celebration, and I was the star. It makes a big impression when when you talk about Toastmasters. And don't be afraid to talk about Toastmasters. It's an amazing organization. Just to stick a pin here, this is generally speaking. I went to Austin, Texas recently, and I presented at 2 conferences. But the guy who was the keynote, I don't remember his name. I really should when I tell him the story. But he is a guy that advises Rolls-Royce. He advises, all the top companies in terms of how best to market and sort of like sell the image of the company, like, exclusive companies. And I went up to him and I just complimented him on his presentation. It was amazing. And I said, I'm district director for Toastmasters, and I just wanted to compliment you on your presentation. And when I said Toastmasters, he stepped back and he said something I would always remember. He said, you guys change people's lives. And that was such a huge compliment, just coming from someone, at that level. He's got a PhD in psychology, and he advises, Starbucks and Rolls-Royce and all of these top companies in terms of their branding. For him to say that about Toastmasters, that's amazing, right? All right, so number 7. This is something that we expect clubs to do, but I am blown away, as a district leader, that it doesn't always happen. So have monthly exec meetings and make them fun, make them meaningful. It's so amazing that in so many clubs, they don't have monthly exec meetings, or if they have the exec meetings, it's, hey, let's do a 10 minutes after our club meeting. We're in and out and we're done. No, that's an opportunity for you to connect with your exec members. Those executives are critical in terms of any strategy your club comes up with. When we meet as a trio for the district, I make sure we carve out time to, go to wherever, have a meal. Thankfully the district pays, but, we take the time to sort of like really get to know each other, to have that bonding, and you have to do it in any level of organization, especially a voluntary organization, because if people are not happy, they're not having fun, you're not going to engage them, or you're not going to get them to go to the next level. So I'll give you an example of a really good exec meeting. one of the clubs in Brampton that I mentioned earlier is Brampton Toastmasters. And one of the traditions that they've had is their exec meetings was always held at the home of the club president. And what that does, it sort of like takes away this whole barrier in terms of, like right now we have a physical barrier because we're all online, all right? It takes away that barrier in terms of me not knowing Rosanna as well. Of course, that's a really bad example because I know Rosanna very well. I've been to her house. And I know that, she's not the best driver. She drives like a, race car driver. So, that's not, I wouldn't recommend her if anyone, has a bad heart or something like that. So that is one of the things that, it helps you to really connect with people on a different level that, when I went to Toastmasters International, one of the conventions, I think it's the one in Chicago, the keynote speaker said, he asked the question, what is a highly effective, what is a highly effective team? What is, your club executive or your trio or whatever. What's a highly effective team? And his definition of a highly effective team is a group of people who are so strongly connected that everyone's objective is to not let the other person fail. And that's so important. I remember when I was fairly new in Toastmasters, one of our area directors, she was ill and she was constantly in and out of hospital. And I said to her, just let me know. I'll do whatever you want, whatever it takes. I've never been an area director before. I don't know what it involves, but just tell me what you need me to do and I'll do it. And that's the kind of support that, in a strong, effective team, that's what you need to be successful in your goals. So I have 3 more.
Leslie,
But if-
Laura had her hand. Laura Ultimo, I believe, had her hand up.
Oh, most definitely. I can take that question.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I was going back to number 6, actually, when I raised my hand, and it was just to compliment what you said about if wherever you work, like go to the HR. In my experience a couple years ago, I had belonged to another club at the college, and we had an open house. I actually put on the open house, and I invited the president of the college, and he did make an appearance, and he did share with everyone before he became the president of the college how he was a long time standing Toastmaster and all the benefits. So I just wanted to share that. And then I did do a follow-up thank you letter for having him come and give us a little presentation. So I just want to share whoever is not just employable, but even in volunteer organizations, just putting the word out there, and you just never know. I myself, my original experience back in many years ago, my first experience in Toastmaster was that I was very bored out of my mind, and I thought, I'm done until I was invited a few years later, and I actually enjoyed it very much. And here I am. I'm on the bilingual club. Thank you. Back to you. Like Toastmaster meeting.
Yeah, and you know what? The best type of advertisement, you can put your stuff on Facebook, you can put it on Meetup. The best type of advertisement for a club is word of mouth. If you have a great meeting, you have it engaging and fun, that's the biggest advertisement for your club. And if you can have someone, in the organization come and give an endorsement, like I used to be a Toastmaster, that blows away any other type of word of mouth, because you're hearing it from, the top guy. We've done that successfully and I've seen that successfully in many clubs. We've had the mayor of Brampton at our clubs. We had the chairman of Region of Field. We actually made him an honorary member, and it really helps a lot because guests coming in and seeing someone of that caliber in your club, hearing them talk about their own experience. The chairman actually talked about how he stuttered when he was a kid, and that really does help big time in terms of advertising. All right, so I have three more. So number 8, moments of truth. A lot of people are scared of moments of truth. And if the moments of truth are not done in what should I say, in an encouraging and fun, engaging way, if it's not explained properly, persons might take it personally, and you don't want that to happen. When you do a moments of truth, make sure you read the manual, understand how best to do it, maybe ask your area director, they have some experience to come and do it for the club or not a district official to do a moments of truth. It can be really fun, and there's people who have adapted the moments of truth by using like Google Forms and things like that to get the feedback rather than just write it on a board or a piece of paper. You can actually make it fun. But remember, at the end of the day, the whole idea of doing a moments of truth is to open up the eyes of the executive to a blind spot. So maybe, you have someone who's, like we say, a club killer in your midst, and you just, just think that that person's bossy, but then, that person might be turning members away, right? So it's good to know, and you might be that person, right? You might be the person, and if you're the person, it's good to know, good to get that feedback, because you might just be stressed out at work, and then you go to your club image and you're not realizing you're snapping at people because they didn't do whatever perfectly. At the end of the day, Toastmasters is an organization that's, there to help people in terms of their personal growth. It's not a military camp. So, if someone makes a mistake, especially if it's a new member, it's not much to it. And it's the whole idea of moments of truth is to bring out those blind spots within the club. Might by something very simple, like forgetting to call up the guests at the end of the week, or forgetting to send out a link for your online meeting, or some simple things like that. You might be surprised at the feedback you get that you can actually use as an executive. So that's number 8. Number 9 is use social media to drive interest level. So I spoke a little bit about social media already. There's so many things. There's a free meetup that you can use that's paid for by the district. Every month we pay like a whole lot of money for a meetup, and it's not utilized enough. So there's a couple of things with meetup. The clubs that get a lot of members from meetup, first of all, you have to have at least, I think, 5 people on the meetup, signed up as going before the algorithms within meetup sort of, bring it to the top when someone's searching for an event. Then those people have to, invite their friends using the meetup. I remember when I was part of Shane Toastmasters, one of the things we used very effectively was meetup.com. And what we did is every time we have an event, weekly, we'd meet at a coffee shop. It was nothing to do with Toastmasters. We were just meeting to, practice speaking in French. What we would do is we would always, invite like 5 or 10 people, just keep inviting 5 or 10 people. Everyone in the meetup, we invite 5 or 10 people. So our meetups always had like 10, 15 people going. It was active meetup, and the algorithms were always kicking it to the top of the so we always had 3 or 4 people just dropping in, to see what things are at the coffee shop. And it was always, very engaging. So that's one tip about using meetup.com effectively. To really make use of it, you have to have multiple people sort of like, liking and sharing. And the same thing with Facebook. When you see something, an ad, or you post something on Facebook, some people have asked me, oh, can I post something to the district website? District Facebook? 100%. That's what it's there for. It's there for members to engage with each other and, post whatever your club is doing, especially if you're doing a themed event, invite people. I know you might, people might say, oh, well, I'm not looking for existing Toastmasters. I'm looking for new people to join. But, every existing Toastmasters has a friend that might be interested in your club, right? So for instance, if you're the president of Voix du Nord, that's a French club. However, you can it's probably hard to find someone who lives in Ontario who does not know someone who's Francophone or trying to learn or would love to learn French or would love to, master or improve their, high school French or something like that. So always paint a broad brush when you're advertising, because word of mouth, always remember that word of mouth is your best way of promoting. So even though you might not be speaking directly to someone who might be a potential member, just telling them about how great your club is, that's you selling it. So I actually have an example in my notes here for social media, and it's about the Namaste Brampton. So a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from an international director. These guys, there are only a few of them in the world. And he called me, his name is Roy Ganga. And he said, "Oh, I see your district is doing really well." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much." And we continued talking, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm staying by my brother-in-law's house in Brampton. Maybe we can meet up." And so I said, "Why don't you bring him to my club? I'm organizing a club on Saturday." And he said, "Oh, Namaste Brampton." I said, "Hey, how did you know about that?" He said, "Okay, I'm going to let you talk to my brother-in-law." And his brother-in-law was like, "Oh, yeah, I saw the ads about that Namaste Brampton. I'd like to join, what days do you meet, etc." I'm like, "Yes, we got a new member here." So you never know. Like you put the advertising out, you promote it on social media, and then people would join if it's something they're interested in. That person in particular, he was actually really interested because his background, he's from Caribbean and he's Indian origin, and he was really interested in learning and improving his linguistic skills in Hindi. So he was very fascinated that we started a club, a South Asian themed club. So my last tip is run membership drives, make it a project, and let a new member run it. I think I alluded to this earlier. Very often we think, "Oh, this is so much work, I don't want to take it on." And I give you a good example. So right now we are organizing a district picnic event, and this is usually an organized something that the district director or the outgoing team organizes. But then I'm so busy with so many things, I got the idea, why not have someone run it? And I went to one of the clubs and I was talking about projects and members getting more involved in projects. And someone came to me and said, "I'm looking for a project for an HBL." I said, "Yes." And he's doing it, and he's, doing great. And that's one thing that I don't have to organize. That's one thing I don't have to, look over. I'm on the guidance committee for the picnic organization, but I'm just there, to guide. And he is doing the calling, he's doing the scheduling, he's chasing people up, he's doing all the ads, he's, making sure the food gets there, all of that stuff. So don't be afraid in your club to, organize the projects and give it to a new member. Why I said new member is because there's nothing that can engage someone but like involving them. It's great when you're sitting and you're watching, but when you're actually involved and you're putting your hands in and you're helping to make that pie and it comes out, then you get not just bragging rights, but you get that experience of actually working and making something that's really tangible and fascinating. So those are essentially the tips that I had in terms of really boosting your club. And there's so many clubs that are already doing all of these things. And one of the things that I like to do is visit different clubs, see, especially when, I'm in club leadership, to see and get ideas. And I see my friend Stephen Harwood is here. I have to obviously, embarrass him by saying, in the pandemic, I was blown away. I always, as a kid, I learned Spanish and Hindi and all these languages in high school, but in high school, you spend so much time learning the grammar, they never focus on conversation, which, that's what you really need if you're gonna master a language and take it to the next level in terms of, continuous improvement and developing the language skills. So, when I visited Broward Bilingual, the club that Stephen was running in Florida, of course it was the pandemic and we couldn't just go drive around or go to a beach. So when I had the opportunity to visit that club, I was just completely blown away because of how, the first thing I have on my list in terms of boosting membership is focus on quality and guests will join. They were focused 100% on quality, like everything. You can feel that meeting was just so well planned out. Like from the time guests arrived, they were sort of like, you're welcomed in such a way. You just felt like part of something great. You felt, that energy that's going to take you to the next level. And because of just visiting those two bilingual clubs, I actually joined two bilingual English Spanish clubs in Florida. I became fluent. I was, when I went to my next trip to Mexico over, I don't know, maybe after doing it, joining those language clubs for a year, I was fluent enough I was the translator for our group of 10 people. And everywhere people would be like, hey, what's the guy saying? And then I would start talking, we went on tours in the city and I was chatting with everyone and I was really loving it. And that's what, that the whole point of focusing on quality and the guests, because when you get that experience, when you feel the value that you're getting by being part of a club, you have no doubts about, wanting to join. It's more for you rather than the club. So that's one of the things I would highly recommend. So I'll just pause here, grab some water. And would anyone have any, I know we're coming to the sort of set end time for the meeting, but I'd like to open the floor to anyone that has any questions or feedback on the topics that I've raised.
Hey, Mr. Leslie, let me ask you a question. So I'm a new executive of the Richmond Hill Toastmasters 1963 club. And my question, because we have been talking about how to attract new members. But my question is, what is the appropriate size for club? I know it varies, but I just wanted to understand if it is there a kind of a principle?
Yes, yeah. That's a wonderful question. And I often talk about that to my home club, the same club I've been talking about, Regional Appeal. I think our club is literally too big right now. We have maybe 40 something members. The problem with having a club that has so many members is each member does not have enough opportunity to speak. So if your club if you have over 30 plus members, then you really have to look at how you're managing the meeting. So I know there are clubs with, 40, 50 members, and what they do to, they would obviously have to be like an evening club. What they do is sometimes you can have multiple meetings in a week, but then that creates so much overhead for the executives. You can also have more than 2 speeches on the agenda, because the one thing that you want to do when your club is growing and you have that problem that most clubs don't have is you want to make sure that your members do not become spectators, because as soon as they become spectators, they're not going to renew. When you involve them and they're completing their levels, that is what makes them renew. When you give them little projects to do, that's what makes them renew. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And sometimes, if your club is doing really well, it's an opportunity to start or charter a new club. And that's not a bad thing, because what happens invariably is that new club can assist the mother club very often when, you know, the members in the original club are kind of getting tired. You know, you can see the energy in the second club, and very often that's what happens.
Yep.
Very good question. Anyone else?
Irene Anderson.
Oh, yes, take it away.
Thank you.
Irene.
Quickly, I know it's top of the hour, just quickly, how and to whom did you market Speechcraft? We have 2 programs in our club, and quite honestly, we have struggled to get members into it and even to manage to get through some of the material on the TMI site is a nightmare.
Yeah, so what I would recommend is you have to plan it out and give yourself enough time to plan and advertise, right? So if you're planning a Speechcraft, give yourself at least maybe 2 or 3 months to plan and organize and advertise it. And when you advertise it, you can advertise on social media, like say Facebook, and run some ads, right? Run some ads, maybe spend about $50 on Facebook ads. Google ads tend to be a little expensive, as well as LinkedIn. So I would recommend Facebook. We've been using that a lot very successfully to get hits and members. So you can try a couple of those things. Also try venues, literal venues, you know, drop your flyer at a doctor's office and things like that. You would be surprised how well those work if you just leave a couple of those. Like I mentioned, you can connect with the libraries or through your city and ask them to advertise that. I know Brampton North has done that through the library. There's another club, Brampton Toastmasters, I think they've done it as well, and a few other clubs have done it through the, you know, community centers and things like that. You just put it up, but give yourself a little bit of time, maybe at least 1 to 2 months to do promotion. And, you know, hopefully you get a couple of people, you know, ask people, because of one of the things that a lot of clubs have done, right? So let's say you're running a Speechcraft for 5 people. I think that's $6. That's $10 US per person. If you charge 20 Canadian dollars, you covered once you have 4 to 5 people in the Speechcraft program. And then what you can do, because we are a nonprofit, you can actually absorb that money into the membership for the person if they decide to join. So it becomes an additional incentive, and you can put all of that in your marketing campaign. And when, you know, your guests come, you know, keep a list of your guests and reach back to them and say, you know, maybe you can join the club for, you know, $120 or $99 per 6 months, or you can, for $20, you can join the Speechcraft program that's starting, you know, in July or whenever. And, you know, from the Speechcraft, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get an introduction, you get to do an icebreaker, you get to do an evaluation, and you can market it that way.
Thank you.
Answer? Okay.
Thank you.
Azhar,
Adar, yeah, my friend, come on, let's hear from you.
Thank you so much for a wonderful session. My question is, you know, when we do the youth leadership programs and Speechcraft, recently I'm doing organizing a youth leadership program in the Vaughan area libraries, right?
Awesome.
And many parents also who are picking and dropping their kids when they see our badges and they see the pins like a DTM pin, other pin, they ask how you achieve these and how you can speak like that. Do you think it's a very good chance when you work on the community to market our club? Because, you know, to bring the new people in the club is always a challenge, but our marketing, when we are doing the community service or youth program, how can we attract our parents and other people we meeting in the community?
Yeah, you know, that's a perfect question and a perfect segue to, you know, maybe that should be number 11 on my list, because I can tell you, my wife joined Toastmasters. You know, a lot of people are like, hey, I wish I can get my spouse to join Toastmasters. My wife joined Toastmasters not because of me, but because of my son being in a Gavel club that Rosanna and I started, and her coming and seeing how he has changed in his ability to, you know, present himself and deliver and speak up and things like that, and seeing that transformation in that kid. And I can tell you there are many other parents, they didn't even see badges, you know, but they just see the way you present yourself, and they've asked, you know, how can I join a club? What days work? And it's a great marketing tool, not just the Gavel Club, but also the youth leadership. Youth leadership, I think every club in Toastmasters should run speech, either a Gavel or a YLP at least once a year, because one, it gives your members a way to engage. And I can tell you, when people ask me, hey, how come you're so busy in Toastmasters? When do you have time for family? But the secret is, you know, I heard one of the international presidents say it, you know, if you involve your family members, you know, if I'm going, you know, straight from work to a Gavel club, I'm not spending time in Toastmasters. That's family time, right? Because my son is in the Gavel club, my daughter was in the Gavel club. You know, my wife eventually joined Toastmasters, and, you know, today her club is meeting and they're missing me because I'm the one that usually sets up the cameras and things like that. But, you know, that's family time, right? It's Toastmasters, but it's also family time because we get to spend time together. So, you know, you have to find ways of creative ways, you know, just like you mentioned, and maybe I should write that down as number 11 on my list next time I give this presentation, but 100%, you know, these programs, I think each Toastmasters club should run a YLP, or, and just by having it, you know, in a library, in a community center, you're not just marketing youth leadership and you're not just being an example in the community, you're also reaching out to a demographic that Toastmasters needs, the younger people, the younger ideas, younger blood. I can tell you that, you know, I hope I'm not talking too much, but the club that we're starting, Namaste, the keynote speaker is a girl that came out, Rosanna knows her, of our Gavel club, Ashni. And, you know, she's doing great things at university. She's at McMaster. She's doing, I think, bioscience. And it's great to give that platform to the younger generation. You know, someone asked, how do you reach out to the younger demographic? It's by giving them that platform, you know, and allowing them to shine and excel.
And I think a few senior Toastmasters like Madeline Letchford, Mariska Thomas, Pauline Vaz, they all were the teachers during youth leadership program for my kids. So not only, definitely we can tell our families that I'm going back in the meeting is my also family time, because we involve our kids and our senior Toastmaster groom them. So it's going from generation to generation. Like my son is now in Durham College Toastmasters, and like he's planning. So it is going, and once our seniors are care in the youth leadership program for our kids, they set up their vision that once they cross 18, they can join the regular Toastmasters club.
Yeah, but you know what? I agree with you, but I also think that every club should be running Speechcraft, and it just shouldn't be the seniors, you know, in Toastmasters, the DTMs that are running it, because remember, YLP is a project in Toastmasters. So, you know, if clubs are not doing those projects, then you're missing out. And you know, every time someone takes on a YLP or a Gavel club or whatever project to do, they're learning and gaining so much. Like, you know, I can tell you, you know, some of the kids that came out of our Gavel club, they just blew me away. You know, once I was at home and there's this guy knocking on the door, and he was, you know, campaigning for Jagmeet Singh. And this is one of the most introverted kids when he came to our club. And that's like a 360-degree turnaround in, you know, personality for a kid who was probably like 14 years old, trying to find himself, doubting himself. and not even speaking up or even making eye contact to, have him knock on the door and, and give me a off the cuff speech in terms of why I should vote NDP. I thought that was just fascinating.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Totally.
Wow. Well, everybody, let me see the hands of all those who enjoyed this amazing session. Let's show some love, do some emoticons, some emojis, and all of that good stuff, right? Yes, yes, yes. Let me put my little heart again. Yeah, let me put my little heart. I just want to say, amigo Leslie Benfield, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Wow.
De nada.
I had to do the Spanish. I had to do the Spanish. And I just want to also say namaste, namaste, namaste.
Namaste to
I mean,
you.
so I'm doing some bilingual, but I just want to say thank you so much to my friend, my dear friend Leslie. We've worked so hard together with, as he mentioned, with the Gavel Club, and it's always a joy to work with Leslie. And Leslie does what he does from the heart. And so it is with me. So when I see people who do and say things from the heart, I'm always drawn to them. And as you can see, he did not hesitate when I asked him to do this workshop. It was a resounding yes. And I just want to say thank you so much, DC Distinguished Toastmaster Leslie, for this amazing workshop tonight. I know you see from the dialogue, the questions being asked, people actually learn and want more information. The only thing that I was trying to do tonight was to put in the chat some of the links from the District 123 site, so that you can go there and peruse through and get some of the information. But the way the Zoom was set up, it was disabled for me to actually do that with you tonight. But I've shared the link with him, and he has the connections where he can somehow share that with all of you who attended tonight. But join me once again in saying thank you. And I thank you because if you weren't here tonight, we couldn't have this wonderful workshop. So give yourselves a round of applause for coming out. Give yourselves a round of applause. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you once again, Leslie. It was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Have a good night, everybody. Until the next workshop, there's 2 more workshops that I've organized, and I hope to see you. They're coming soon. Look out for the flyer. I think it should be ready by the end of this week to post. Take good care. Be safe. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you all for staying through
Bye,
the
everybody.
extra couple minutes, and I really enjoyed the time we spent here today. If anyone has any questions and you want to open your mic just before we drop off, feel free.
Okay. Mhm.
It was a great session. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
My friend Azhar is here. So, hello, Azhar.
You said something, Stephen? I didn't quite get
I
that.
said Bahut Shukriya ji.
Oh.
What was that?
That was Hindi.
Oh, wow.
What did you say again? Can you repeat that in Hindi?
Bahut Shukriya ji.
Bachi Kubachi. Is that thank you very much?
Yes.
I think I wrote it down. I work part-time. I work part-time at Crunch. And when my Hindi friends come in, no, not Hindi. No, is it what is Sasikal? Sasikal? What is
Shashikal is
Sasikal?
Punjabi.
That's
Punjabi.
Punjab.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe
In Hindi,
the
you
other
call
person
Dhanyavad.
maybe the other person I spoke with was Hindi, and that's I was
Yeah.
writing down because I'm trying to pick up little phrases as well.
Very
And I think I
Yeah.
wrote that one down.
When you say in Hindi, you call Dhanyavad.
Yeah.
Or you can say that.
That's thank you.
Yeah.
I said Shukriya, which you
Yep.
can also say.
Oh,
And I added G to it.
Shukriya
as a
is
sign-
Urdu. Yeah.
And I said Shukriya ji as a sign of respect, right?
That's
Yeah.
what he said. That's what the guy told me. He said that. He said that. He said that. Oh my gosh. I love
Very
it. I
nice.
love it. That's
Stephen is
exactly what he
versatile.
said.
Stephen, thank you very much for bringing in the new language in here, Urdu, and bringing that respect. Appreciate it.
Is
Yeah.
lal
100%.
lal is sometimes it's Bengali lal sometimes.
No, yeah, oh, you know so much about it.
And that means red.
Though I'm not Bengali, but yes.
Lal means
Yeah,
red.
but this last name goes in UP also, which is called